why do people overeat and why do people have such bad relationships with food?
If they have no pleasure in their daily life, they have a lot of stress, they usually come at home and overeat on emotional basis. The second one, food, is always our relation with mother, because
Oh wow.
and there are people that could not sleep between 3 or 4 a.m. because of the low blood glucose level. For that kind of people, they should eat carbohydrates in the evening.
Would you recommend drinking bone broth over collagen supplement? She sells seashells by the seashore.
She sells seashells by the seashore.
You're ready to go.
Okay.
Another one?
Let's
Betty Butter bought some butter.
Betty Butter bought some butter.
Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
Peter Parker picked a pack of pickled peppers. I'm good?
See? Yeah, I think you're
Okay,
good.
okay.
Do you feel you feel this is definitely going into the podcast, by the
Okay.
way, just to let you
This
know.
one, that's very important.
We're doing it.
That's the most interesting part. of
Right?
the podcast.
Everyone's like, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's the part of the podcast. But I want to welcome everyone back to CATAMANIA. In this week's episode, I have with me someone special. I'm going to be probably kind of like partial or impartial. I don't know what the right way is to say it. My English is going a little bit sideways too because I have been speaking 2 other languages here now. Anywho, I am in my home country and I have with me here today my compatriot, Mrs. Olga Odobescu. Mrs. Olga Odobescu. And she is a biohacker, a nutritionist, a psychologist, and an entrepreneur.
Already, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur as well.
Amazing.
Okay.
I think that many of you know that the subject of wellness, health, fitness is a no stranger of mine. I try my best to get as informed as I could possibly get with the new, trends and all of the things that are good for your health, while maintaining a level of balance. So I think that today's guest is going to help understand certain things that are related to that and also help you guys, because I know, you follow me, you listen to my podcast, you're probably very interested in those subjects as well. So, Mrs. Olga Odobescu, hello.
Hello, my dear.
It's nice to have you
Nice
in our homeland. You were born here too, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm Moldavian. I'm proud to say I'm Moldavian.
And you live between Moldova and United
Miami.
States nowadays. Yep. Yeah. How did you get into what you do?
I've tried to revise and to understand where does it came from. And I think the nutrition and nutritionist sphere, or this, I think this part of my life came from a huge lack of self-love and self-esteem. I was searching in the YouTube how to love myself. I was trying to find some videos, and I find a psychologist, a man, and he was explaining how to find self-esteem, self-love, and all this stuff like this, because I truly didn't understand how a person could love himself or itself. And after that, I understood that I want to study psychology, to understand people and to understand better myself. And I became a student of psychology university. And when I came to diploma, I've choose.
You're doing well, yeah.
Okay,
you chose,
give me some
you chose this
minutes.
specialty?
Yeah, I've choose the topic, why do people overeat by emotions, yeah?
Mhm.
Not just because they're hungry, but why they're trying to to find something else in food, and I was interested in this nutrition field. I had a very a good group of people whom I was tasting, and they had a great result. They had great
result from your
they had great results from the things that I suggested them to do. And just being consciousness and understanding why they are eating, why they put something in their mouth. And after that, I understand that I want to go deeply, and I want to understand people's biochemistry, to understand what's going deeply inside. Then I find an university online, and I did my nutritionist course. It was pretty hard for me. I was crying. I thought I would not finish this degree.
Was it harder than psychology?
For sure, for me, yes, because the process of the learning was made so unusual for us, like Soviet people, because it was absolutely different. The structure of learning, and they gave us a very strange question. For example, they gave us a map of the region, and they asked to think what kind of deficiencies could a person have that lives on that region. For example, what kind of minerals are in that earth, and what person could have lack of. And you could not find this information in the internet. You should make a research step by step to understand this kind of task. So that's why it was pretty difficult for me, but I'm proud of myself that I did it.
So you ventured into psychology because you had lack of self-love?
Correct.
You searched how you could love yourself more, and that got you interested in human psychology. Is self-love something that is strictly based on a programming that you've had, or like how did you change that? Did you change that through the process of studying for psychology, or did that happen before you went into psychology?
That happened after the psychology degree. I've received a lot of information how to do it, and after I should implement this information in daily life, like put your borders, have
the boundaries between you.
The boundaries, feel yourself what you want to do. And our education was based on being liked by others, not by myself. For example,
100%.
My mom, she always told me, the people should feel comfortable next to you, but what I'm feeling inside, nobody asked me. That's why in my teenage era, or like age, I was unconfident, and that's why I was looking for this life and for this appreciation after.
Yeah, I think in this part of the world we're taught more so, maybe, I mean, I don't know how it is in every single place in the world, but we're taught to a very high degree to be liked by our comrades, right? Like by the people around us, by our teachers, by our friends, by our neighbors. To a degree that I think is even more so than in other places. Like there's this sense of you have to make sure that you are liked by everyone.
You are liked, you are not judged of doing something that it's uncommon in that region, and for me it was like a rule. It doesn't matter what you feel inside. The most important you to be liked and to be like my mom, she always told to be diplomatic. Like you should find a common language with everyone. Yeah,
for sure. And it's like, it's funny because you can't control what another person is.
Absolutely.
I have no control over what you think of me,
sure.
Which is why it's silly to ever get offended, because getting offended is like giving control over to someone else. I have no control over what you think of me. I can just bring myself to you, and we either click or we don't. I can't get into your head and change the way you think of me.
For sure, and I cannot like you, I cannot like you even you are the best person. Just because I have something inside that triggers me in you, and that's not your fault.
Yeah, 100%. So you went into psychology, and then you got interested in the field of nutrition through it. Can we expand just a little bit more on the subject of, the overeating part and eating as it relates to psychology? Why do people overeat, and why do people have such bad relationships with food sometimes?
Each of my client or a person has his own history and his own main root cause. But usually people find pleasure in food. If they have no pleasure in their daily life, they have a lot of stress, they usually come at home and overeat on emotional basis. That's the first one, most often meted trigger or root cause. The second one, food, is always our relation with mother, because in the childhood mother feeds us, and there is very strong link between eating and mother's love or mother's attachment.
Really?
And, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. How was this process of feeding you? And there is a topic mental metabolism is that you have some characteristic just because of the way your parents fed you in the childhood. For example, if in our childhood parents said us shut up and eat,
Ложку, открой рот.
yeah, and they are growing you and educating you that you should tolerate everything. You should not choose something, or you should not have your aggression. Yeah, you should just eat, close your mouth and eat. And the person grows with the same perception of information in life. What a person tells you, you should not divide it with critical thinking. You just should digest it and take it through.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, that's called mental metabolism. And if you allowed your child to choose the food, if you allowed to even refuse food, you grow a strong person. But if you are growing your child with just restriction, or say, eat whatever I give you, a child could have a different character when he grows up.
That is so interesting. So it stems from how you were fed when you were little.
For sure.
Oh, wow.
Because by feeding, even with the breastfeeding, we receive love, and we feel ourselves safe. If we feel unsafe next to our mother, sometimes we can reflect it to the world. Yeah, we feel unsafe in this world.
It makes perfect sense, but I would have never linked that, but it makes perfect sense. I, like many people from this part of the world, my grandparents, specifically my grandma on my dad's side, was a survivor of Holodomor. So it was starvation here. So for her to see us leave food on the plate was absolutely a no, an absolute no.
Sure.
So if we would leave food on the plate after eating, she would get mad, I remember, and she'd be like, you have to finish your food, because she had this scarcity of, well, we might not have enough, right?
Sure.
Which makes perfect sense. I think my parents did a really good job because I have a really great relationship with food. I don't really have any grievances towards that, but it makes perfect sense. Well, I'm curious, what happens when a mother can't breastfeed? Do you know? Because you're saying a lot of it comes from how the breastfeeding process was done. What happens when a mother can't breastfeed?
Let me tell you a short story before I come to breastfeeding. I had a man. He was like very tall. He was huge. He was obese, and he was from the Clean Plate Club. I'm calling it like this.
That was your client.
Yeah. That's a true story. And I asked him, please stop eating when you feel full. Yeah, and start eating when you are hungry. And he said, I don't feel it. I said, how? He said, I eat everything what I have on my plate. My grandparent educated me like this. He told me that you should leave a clean plate. And this person became a very big boss person, but he still didn't felt if he has this hunger or he has not, because it was blocked. Like he just should eat everything that is on his plate, and that's why he overate a lot, just because he had the possibility to buy different dishes and different goods, and that's why when he understood that he should start eating when he's hungry and stop when he's full, he started losing weight.
So he didn't feel hunger and he didn't feel fullness.
Absolutely.
He would just stack on a plate. So how would he know when to eat? Just
he by the time he understood that that's morning, he should eat in the afternoon and maybe in the evening. And what his wife gave him, he ate everything. And he has no feeling of this. We have hormonal like leptin and ghrelin hormones. He didn't felt anything like this.
Interesting.
So that was because of this childhood program that he should eat everything, and he would be a bad boy if he leaves something on the plate, even a piece of bread. My mom, she always told me, that's your health.
Yeah. Don't leave your health on the plate, or don't leave your happiness on the plate. We have that with alcohol here too. I mean, thankfully I don't have friends who do that, but we literally have a culture of like, if you have a glass of, like, let's say wine or vodka or whatever, and you leave a little bit in, people will tell you like, oh, you're leaving the tears in there. Оставляешь свои слезы. I'm like, I don't drink hard liquor at all. But it's a culture for sure.
And that's a culture that makes us overeat always, or overdrink, or makes us to do what we don't want to do and do not feel ourselves. So, but I hope that times change, and in this region it will change soon. Hope so.
Yeah, I think so. It's getting there. I mean, I think that even the way that we approach eating and dishes here, it's a little bit different than it was even when we were growing up.
For sure, but we still will have 3 layers of food on our celebrations, for example, on holidays. And when people come from abroad, they were like, "Oh my God, that's for a week or for an evening." It's too much.
Our weddings too. When you go to a wedding, there'll be fish and meat and beef, chicken, all of the food that you could possibly think of, all at the same table, and you're eating it all at the dinner table at the wedding, right? And then your stomach is like, what have you done?
Yeah, I remember my sister, she's married to a Canadian man, and we went for their wedding ceremony in Cancun in Mexico. And they had a small menu, like 3 dishes, and everyone came with their own drinks, and maybe they had a bottle of champagne to share for everyone. And my mom, she came, and when she saw empty table, she said, where is the food? What's going on? Is that a wedding? Where is the food? Because she had the strongest association that on wedding we should have a lot of food, and like we should eat a lot.
Yeah, something is wrong if we don't have that.
Yeah, for sure.
I want to go back to the breastfeeding because it's interesting to me. What happened? I'm not a mother, so it's. I know you're a mother of 3, which, by the way, you were getting all of the education while you had your kids?
With my first kid, I made all the possible mistakes I could. And he eats, so he's a picky eater. Now, till nowadays. And I have 2 girls after, and they eat everything: fish, broccoli. They are food lovers, and they really enjoy healthy food. So about the breastfeeding, when a mother breastfeeds, that's like a source for the kid, and mom, she makes this intimacy with the kid and
Connection
and program that you are safe. You know, and the longer is the period of breastfeeding, the most strong this relation became.
And it's immune too, right? Like
For sure.
immune system is strengthened by that. And
It's immune system. It forms our microbiome, our our potential to fight with bacteria and viruses and all this stuff. So I think it's very important to breastfeed.
If a woman can't, is that an issue with her nutrition as well?
Could you repeat the question?
If a woman cannot breastfeed, is that, I'm assuming it's because something went wrong with the hormones and something is wrong with her nutrition, why she can't produce milk?
It depends. There are a lot of different causes, but usually she could have some problems with the like canals in your breast, or it could be psychological stuff. It's sometimes it hurts, and that's why moms quit to do it, because it hurts. You have like cracked bumps.
Oh, nipples. I hate that word for some.
Cracked nipples, and it's really hurt. That's why sometimes women quit. But sometimes it's hormonal as well. Like someone could produce more milk, someone less.
Nipples is one of those words that I just for some reason don't like. I don't know why. Like in Russian, the word is fine, but in English, for some reason, I don't know why. It's one of those words. I have a friend who can't hear the word moist. Many people don't like the word moist or moisturization. She gets all weirded out by that. It's strange. We have psychological things in there that
that's
respond.
That's like association with something you have, like with pronunciation, this word.
Yeah, for sure. Is there, I guess, well, that's more of a question that I think maybe deserves a lot of research, but I know that some women just can't breastfeed. Does that mean that she won't form that connection with the child? Is there ways around it?
I think we should treat life the way it is, and if it happened like this, that's okay. We live in a modern world, and you can take and hug your child and find a good formula like to feed him. There are not too many of those, but you can find them. Yeah,
fair enough. I want to go back to the subject, sort of, the subject of Eastern European food culture, but approach it from a perspective of, you as a biohacker. Is there something that, we talked about the things that we do wrong. Is there something that we do, or certain things that we do right here from a perspective of biohacking? Are there certain things that maybe our parents or grandparents have done without knowing that are really good for you, that are now like the trends in the biohacking world?
I think you often post about holodets.
Yeah.
Or how does it called in English? Jelly meat?
The dish, I say that it's a dish that freaks out all Westerners. It's basically a meat jello. It's a dish that's made from either chicken or pork or beef, and you basically boil the broth from which you make a jello. So it's all made from the meat, and then you also put like pieces of meat in there and some veggies and stuff like that.
Yeah, and this broth, it's a very good source of amino acids.
Yeah. Amino acids, yeah.
Amino acids, yeah. And the perfect source of collagen and glycosamine. And I think that's a very good dish for us.
Do you like it?
I like the broth, but I don't like it frozen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I even in the morning today I had a cup of broth with eggs, and that's like a source of collagen for me, and it's much cheaper than you buy it in the box or in the supplement. What else? In our childhood, I don't know if you remember, we had in the kindergarten always taking some fish oil.
Yes.
It's like omega-3 now. And we had a vitamin D to protect our bones. So that was like a rule for all schools and kindergartens. And so I think that's maybe a biohacking of that time.
We were ahead of the times.
Yeah, for sure. They understood what to do. What else? We were eating 3 times per day. I think that's a good period, and that's a good window of fasting to digest all the previous food. What else we had? We were walking a lot, and in general, our traditional food, unprocessed, is pretty good. We have corn, we have good meat, we have vegetables. This traditional food is it's okay even now.
Yeah, high quality. I think the vegetables here, and even if you compare, this is like the most stereotypical comparison that I think anyone who's moved away from here does, but tomatoes, the way the tomatoes are here versus the way they are like even in Canada. Vancouver is pretty good, I will give it credit. Vancouver has really good food, but a tomato here versus a tomato somewhere like in Canada or England, for example, it's like rubber, and here the tomatoes are so juicy.
Yeah, and they have a special smell and taste. It means it has a lot of minerals inside. These minerals, salts, different salt give this tomato the taste. And when it has no taste, it means it has no benefits for your health.
Yeah. You mentioned collagen. Would you recommend drinking bone broth over collagen supplement?
I think these are mostly the same. You should understand how your body breaks the protein, and it breaks a piece of fish or meat or the supplements into blocks, amino acids. That's why I don't think for your body it depends a lot where does this source came from. But I think it's more natural to have bone broth or even chicken broth.
Would you recommend in general that people derive their supplements more from natural foods? And are there any supplements that you absolutely recommend, like certain things that you can't live without?
Interesting question. It depends. Sometimes when I cannot understand the provenience of that food or the quality of the food, I could better take a supplement.
Okay.
Per general, you should pay a lot of attention and time to understand where are that vitamins nowadays, how to like balance your diet, and it's pretty hard. That's why sometimes it's much easier to take a supplement, than to investigate and to calculate all these macros and micros. There is not. I cannot say I have one opinion about that. It depends, and we should understand the context.
Fair enough. I personally cannot, and actually I'd be curious to know your opinion, but I don't like organ meat. So liver and hearts. It's just the hearts, the texture, something about it that I don't like, and the liver, the taste. No matter what I do, no matter how I try to cook it, I just don't like it. So I take sometimes, I mean, now I took a break because I found a really good supplement in Canada and I couldn't order it here while I was here. So I was like, okay, I'll wait until I get back. A liver supplement. So it's dehydrated liver. You take it and you don't have to taste it.
You could have just the liver or all the organs. They are dehydrated. They put them in the capsule and you take it. That's a good way of taking it, and it's much less dangerous than to take an iron supplements, because that's like For example, these beef liver supplements, they contain iron, B12, and all the cofactors that you need to absorb that iron. And I use them very often if a person refuses to eat, for example, liver, or he doesn't like the taste or the smell of that. But for example, I eat, I think, 2 or 3 times per week liver, but I'm doing it like pate.
Oh, pate. Yeah.
Yeah, and
that's a good idea. So pate is
it
good.
doesn't smell at all. The most important thing is to don't combine it with calcium or with lactose. I'm doing just it with ghee butter. There is no lactose, and I put an onion, carrot, and we blend it very good till it became like a paste. And even for my kids, there is a rule that they should eat liver 2 a week, because it's a perfect source of all nutrients. And I think liver is the most nutrient dense food.
So it's a must.
Not for everyone, because when, for example, usually men, they could have like extra iron in the body, or they should avoid purines that organs could hurt, and that's not for everybody, but for the ladies who have period, it's for sure a must.
Okay, interesting. So it's for men, it might not be the most necessary thing.
For sure, because they are not losing their red blood cells. They are not. They don't have the cycle. That's why the period.
We're so much more complex than they are, aren't we?
We're different. We're different. They are a little bit more simple, organized. We depend from cycles, from our cycles, from weather cycles, and from things that are going on outside of our
the environment.
Our body.
Yeah, for
environment, sure. Yeah, and our internal environment as well. We're different. It's for me, for example, it's a lot more easy to, or much more easy to work with men than with women, because women, they have emotional
roller
coasters, yeah. And one in the beginning of the month, she decides to change her life, to lose weight, to fix her hormones and gut, and after 2 weeks she lose her interest, and she had her progesterone up, and that's why she could have a different emotional phone. And men are more
consistent,
strict. You're telling them what to do, and they're just doing this and have a perfect results. And with women, it's a little bit harder to work.
They wake up every single day feeling the same, unless there's something happening, right? But their hormonal levels are pretty much the same every day.
Absolutely.
The thing that this is a recent discovery, so I don't know if I told you, but when I moved to Canada for a little while there, I was on birth control. And I got out of it, I think, in time. I didn't have too big of a problem with my body, because I know some of my friends who have taken it for maybe longer than I have. They've had serious issues with all sorts of stuff. Obviously based on their hormones and hormonal imbalance post birth control. But this is just like a recent-ish development in my life, maybe I would say the last 4 or 5 years, that I realized how different my body is from my husband's, and that maybe I shouldn't be training the same way men train, and maybe it's okay that I, 1 week I feel like I'm going to conquer the world. I'm going to open 7 businesses at once. And then, 2 weeks go by and I'm like, I don't want to do anything. I just want to be at home and, drink some tea or whatever. And it's okay, because that's,
absolutely, that's 2 parts of the coin. And I like being woman, and I accept both these parts. And that's okay. That's how we are built to be.
Does it take a while, or I guess I should say, why do you think it takes, because you had, it sounds like, this period of time where you weren't accepting yourself, you didn't have much self-love. When do you think women, and how long does it take for them to accept themselves? Because it seems to me like most women I know, by the time they're 30, they start to be like, hey, you know what? It actually kind of like feels good to be a woman. 30, that's like a long time. How old were you when you had this realization of, hey, you know what? I need to start to work towards loving myself.
I think that that was a process. That was not 1 year. It's like aborted. There was a process, and in my field came different kind of people that show me that it could be different, that you could love yourself, you can feel confident while discussing with someone. Because sometimes, for example, when I met a person and that person was important to me, I start speaking some stupid things. I don't know how to explain. I just was blah 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 blah.
You felt I know what you mean. Like almost starstruck by the person. You know, like when somebody
Yeah, and after the person left, I was asking myself, what's going on? What was it? Why I discussed that way? And I made a very strange impression about me to that people, and I start asking myself a question: why do I behave like this? Why someone could live a different life? Why I'm like this? And after you asking a question, you find the answer, the solution, an example in your environment. So I cannot say it was a fixed age. It was like a process, but I think it was 29. It started when I was 29, 28, and it didn't finish nowadays. Like
it still continues.
Yeah, and I think it could never have an end. Like we are always evaluating and developing and growing. So I don't know what will be the next level.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think many people relate to this. Many women, especially listening to this, they will relate to the subject of when you meet somebody who maybe you look up to in a way, or you think of that person as like, whoa, this is like the smartest person in the room or whatever. You have this feeling of like, oh my God, I better not say something stupid, or you feel inadequate for the situation. And it's so important to reflect and just tell yourself, hey, I'm perfectly adequate. Like their level of intelligence doesn't diminish my level of intelligence. Sure. We can connect on something and it'll be okay, you know?
Yeah, and you can have different superpowers. You are good in one, and that person is good in a different way. And sometimes we have an illusion about a person. And for example, social media is a little bit in trouble with this because, for example, when I saw a person, an influencer like you or someone else, I had an illusion that person has some qualities or something that make me feel inside very good. But sometimes when I met them in real life, they were absolutely different, and sometimes I want to live with my illusion because this illusion made me move and make me something and motivate me to change something. But when everyone of us would understand that everyone is a simple person, all of us have troubles, problems, and our insecurities, it will be much more easier to discuss with all kind of people.
Yeah, much more.
Yeah, and to allow ourselves to make mistakes. I jump.
That's actually something that also was, I was reflecting on the mistakes part. To go back to what we were discussing in the beginning about the whole self-love subject and how in our schools and stuff like that here, you weren't raised to, like we were raised to not have self-love almost. We were raised to make sure that we're liked by everyone. The mistakes part, I don't know if you had this, but in my school, our teachers would specifically tell us, like, только дурак учится на своих ошибках. So like only a stupid person would learn from their mistakes. You're supposed to learn from everybody else's mistakes and make sure you don't make mistakes. And I was reflecting on that with my mom a couple of weeks ago. I was like, that is not good advice, because that means that you can never make a mistake. And then if you never make a mistake, are you even like doing anything in life, right? Are you learning? Because you're kind of bound to make mistakes, especially if you're starting something new.
For sure, it's okay. That's your experience. And our Soviet learning system was to mark with the red pen your mistakes, and you were afraid of this red pen or the mark in your agenda that you made something wrong.
Yeah.
And now we have women who till nowadays are afraid to say something incorrect, to look stupid or something like this. Yeah, that's
there's some benefits that I at least would like to believe we had, because, for example, I always laugh that a lot of us were kind of like trained to be public speakers from the beginning, because we were like those poems, we would have to get up and recite the poems in front of the whole class. Usually you would go to the front of the class. So it would either make you or break you. Like you would either get over all the embarrassment straight away and you would learn how to snap out of it and be like, I don't care what anybody else says. I'm just going to recite this poem and move on with my life. Or it would break you, and you would get a little, because it was the same approach for everybody, right? Sure. Whereas I feel like we're so individual. Maybe there should be a little bit more of a
I think
tailored approach.
Yeah, how you said, we had a lot of good things happen, and I'm very thankful for that period of time. I became strong. I can do anything in my in my house. I can fix everything, because a person who lived in Soviet Union could fix the television, could repair the shelves. I can do everything. I can cook, because when I came after the school, I should prepare some food for me. So I'm very thankful for that time as well. And when my kids were in English kindergarten here, and when our grandma came to their holiday celebration, she was shocked, because most of the kids come in pajamas and Crocs, and she said, "Where are the dresses? That's a holiday. How could they come?" But they treat absolutely different kids, and they said they feel comfortable. They could come
wearing whatever.
Yeah. And we, I think it's like too radical, maybe.
Yeah.
I think this period of our life made us stronger and good looking as well, because we differ from the way we look and the way we
present ourselves.
To present, how do we look, it's important for us. And I think
and all the holodets helped too with the skin, right?
Yeah, holodets and borscht. It's a very good soup as well.
Yeah. We're almost at our time. But I do want to ask you, as someone who, especially now you divide your time between US and, Eastern Europe, how is the food, in your opinion, in US versus here? You're in Miami mainly, right? Do you find it harder to find, very clean, good ingredients there, or is it not an issue for you? Are there certain things that are better here or better there?
I like in the USA that they have certification. You can find organic, you can find grass-fed, and here you don't understand what are you buying. Yeah, for example, in Europe you have some signs like bio certified, and it could prove the quality of the food. That's why I like USA for that I can choose.
What you're buying.
Yeah, what I'm buying here. You can know you're buying a cat in the bag. It's called like
a cat in the bag.
There is I don't know, an idiom. It's called like you don't know what you are buying. That's the one point. The second point, I don't like the restaurants in USA using a lot of seed oils, and I even can smell them, like this corn oil, a lot of preservatives in the food, and it's very hard in USA to find a good restaurant or a good place to eat. So I mostly cook at home.
You're no for seed oils. absolute no.
For
You
sure.
don't use them, right?
No,
yeah.
no, sure.
Yeah.
But what good do we have here, or what benefits do we have here? It's that you can buy at the farmers' places the food, and they were grown as they are in the nature. You know, they're not using some pesticides or some stuff of this. So there are pros and cons, but the more evolution or programs comes to a country, the worse the food becomes, you know. And the same here. When we had a traditional food, we had no problems with the health.
Isn't that so interesting?
Yeah, and when it came the Coke, the chips, and different stuff like this, the more sick our population becomes.
Yeah, interesting. One question about seed oils. My understanding is, so we have here, my mom uses it a lot. Is it sunflower oil? The non-refined or whatever it's called? Is that okay?
It's a little bit better than refined one, because it has some traces of vitamin, for example, vitamin E. But I think that all seed oils are bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why is that? They cause inflammation in the body?
Because they have a lot of omega-6, pro-inflammatory acids, and a lot of our diseases are connected with inflammation in our body. That's why, yes, if we could quit here one product, and this would be sunflower oil, we would be much healthier than all other nations.
Because they used to think that meat caused all the problems with the body, and then now, especially in the US, there's so much data coming out that basically the increase of many diseases, and I mean you would know them way better, but the increase of many diseases are actually linked to the increased consumption of seed oils, because they didn't exist before. Meat always existed. People always ate meat.
You're absolutely correct. Meat always existed. And for example, if you are our ancestor, it's very hard to produce a lot of oil from a seed. You should take a stone. You should buy the seed, and it's very hard. When we get even fats from the meat, it's easier to get them. We can digest them and process them. But seed oils are toxic and provoke inflammation. That's why I'm not using them here either in USA as well.
Fair enough. One final question for you. What's your, those glamorous videos on Instagram, which I always want to do one, but I don't know. Mine never looks so aesthetically pleasing. I need to work on my aesthetic aspect of those. What you eat in a day? What does your day look like from the moment you wake up? You mentioned you have bone broth. Is that something that you do every day?
That's a very good question, because this illusion of a perfect plate with smoothie, that's unreal. We
you organize all the berries and
you
everything.
have to have a lot of time, and that what makes people think that that's something wrong with them, and that's too far from my life. And if we would show the truth, the people.
That's why I almost want to film a video that's not aesthetically pleasing, because it's like when I make eggs in the morning, I just flip them in the pan, put them on my plate. That's it. There's nothing pretty about it.
That's not Pinterest. It's they don't look pretty aesthetic. So I'm trying to eat a lot of fermented foods daily. For example, now it's like fermented cabbage, pickles, and that's as well our traditional food. It's fermented.
That's Eastern European biohacking right there.
But in the USA, they understand the importance of good bacteria as well. So I eat a lot of fermented foods. I'm trying to have enough protein and fats in the morning. It's very important for the hormonal cascade. I'm having the liver pate very often. I'm trying to have some nuts. I eat, for example, 2 Brazilian nuts, like the source of selenium. In the morning, I'm taking taking my iodine supplements. What else? In the afternoon, my lunch could be very simple. It could be a piece of meat, of fish, some vegetables. I eat broccoli daily because I think that's the superfood.
You're team vegetables. Because you know how there's a movement in US and Canada, the carnivore movement? So like the veggies are not as good for you as they think. You're on team veggies.
I could not say I'm balanced, you know.
Yeah.
I think that carbohydrate, fats, and proteins are made for something, and our body needs it. And even carnivore or keto is not for everyone. And when you understand the biochemistry of your body deep inside, you would not say say this stuff that carnivore is for everyone or keto. No, it's absolutely no. I'm for personalized dietology. You should understand that what fits you could not fit me. That's why I don't like these general rules for everyone.
For me personally, just from you saying that, I'm inclined to say you're a really great nutritionist in that case. Because it seems to me that makes the most sense. You know, not everything can fit
For
everybody,
sure.
right?
Even by the regions, what fits to an African person could not fit to a person who lives in Alaska, for example, where it's cold. It's different metabolism. It's different needs for the body. That's why we could not say everyone should eat just meat or just, I don't know, fats or like this.
For sure. And what about your dinner?
It depends. I like to have some soups, even broth, to a little bit to help our digestion. And I think the dinner should be the lightest course of the day. Yeah. So we should sleep in the evening, but and comma, there are people who have hypoglycemia, and it's when your glucose drops in the night a lot. And there are people, for example, that could not sleep between 3 or 4 a.m. and they don't understand what's going on. That's because of the low blood glucose level, and that's like a red lamp in the car. It wakes up you and said, dear
what's it called? Master. Or like host, I guess. Host.
Yeah, dear master or host, please feed me.
Yeah.
Because I could not sleep because you have the spike of glucose. And sometimes for that kind of people or for that kind of women that have problems with adrenal and with glucose regulation, that they should eat carbohydrates or some grains in the evening to make this level of glucose like on the same range each night. And that's, again, we are different, and we have like different bodies. There are some rules, very general, but I like to go deeper and understand what works for you.
That's very interesting, because how many times have you and I heard the advice, like, never eat carbs before bed. If you eat carbs before bed, you're gonna get fat, you know, like that's the advice. But see, there are people who kind of need to eat some carbs before they go to bed.
To sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they will never gain the weight with that carbs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they will recover so good during this night of full sleep, you know, much better than they would wake up 3 or 4 times. So it's very interesting when you understand the nutrition and the digestion process. And I'm always telling nutrition is a science. Nutrition is a science, not an opinion. You know, but we have a lot of opinions. They are very controversial. So
a lot of ego gets into it, you know, like a lot of people who feel almost they're approaching this from a point of ego. And that happens in all fields and industries.
Absolutely.
Doctors have that too, right? Like doctors who are like, this is how I think it's done, and I'm not open to having my opinions or worldview shaken up. And it's like, well, maybe you should, though, because there's certain evidence that could contradict what you have, and that's an interesting point of view that you should consider, right? So I think I like your approach. is what I've decided.
Hope so. I'm not sure I've tell everything I want, and my English allowed me to explain everything deeper, but I will do my best, and I think our next podcast will be even more interesting.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me today. Just in closing, if we'll link everything in the description, but how can people find you online?
I have social media. I'll leave all my numbers and social media names
in the caption. It's just your name everywhere, right? Olga Odobescu.
And I have a center. I have a holistic health center where I have a lot of nutritionists and even some doctors who works with me to help people.
Fantastic. Thank you for joining me today, Olga, and thank you to our wonderful listeners for tuning into this episode. I think I forgot to ask you guys in the beginning to like, share, comment, give all the love that you can. It means more than you know, and I will see you next week.